Your body, my choice. Multiple of my female friends and mutuals online have gotten that comment. And that's not even the most heinous among them. And they feel so confident to do this because the worst of the people in our society have been emboldened by the worst of the people in our society. And if you think I'm talking about you, yeah, I'm fucking talking about you. I'm talking to every single father who voted to make that kind of rhetoric okay to be said about their daughter. Every brother who voted to welcome threats against their sister. Every grandparent who voted to say that their granddaughter's security in this world is irrelevant. You voted that way, and these comments are on you. The fact that the women you've pretended to love in this world don't feel safe in their country, in their communities, in their own fucking homes, that is on you. You have heard the vile, hateful, disgusting rhetoric from the man's mouth himself for over a fucking decade now. You've heard the pleas from the women you pretended to love, from your gay friends and family members, the black and brown people you called friends and kept in your lives just to convince yourselves and the people around you that you are not a racist, vile piece of shit. You heard them and you didn't even ignore them. You heard them and you listened and you betrayed them. You mocked them. You subjected them to their worst fears. You made them wake up in a country that they don't feel like they are a welcome part of, that they are an equal part of. You made them wake up in a country where they cannot feel safe in their own fucking skin, and that is on you. And for what? Because despite knowing that you voted with the white supremacists, the Christian nationalists, the self-proclaimed chauvinists, you aren't those things, no. No, you voted this way because you feel like your 401k will do a little better and a tank of gas will be a little cheaper. It won't, you just think it will because you're a moron, despite every single economist on the planet telling you it wouldn't, and every fucking historical economic marker in the history of the country telling you that conservative economic policies have always tanked the economy. But it doesn't matter because it's how it makes you feel. It's always been feelings over facts for y'all. And therefore it was okay for you to vote with literal hate groups because you feel like a carton of eggs will cost a little less. Because you claim you voted for that reason, that makes you feel like you're better than those literal hate groups you voted with. But you're not. You're worse. You're disingenuous. At least they wear their hate on their arm, quite literally. Yeah, remember, you voted with the people who wear red armbands. Yeah, they're horrible people, but at least they're fucking honest about it and don't try to cover it up with some bullshit about economics they don't understand. And it's not just old white guys, it's the 55% of white women who chose to forsake their daughters and granddaughters. What was it? Did you all just decide that making your own decisions without a man's approval was a burden you didn't want to tax them with? The 55% of Latino men? What the fuck? If being deported was such an exciting prospect for you, you didn't have to vote for it, you just could have fucking left. You really hate your countrymen that much? You got yours, fuck them? What is the logic behind it? And Gen X, my God, was the whole Gen X rise thing just about rising to the position of super boomer? My God, you fuckers really outdid yourself and every other fucking demographic out there. 56% of Gen Xers voted for this. We get it, you were the forgotten middle child, but you really need mommy and daddy's attention this fucking bad? Well, good job. The boomers were a 50-50 split. You out-boomered the fucking boomers. And honestly, out of everybody, you guys should be the most ashamed. Y'all have sat here and bitched about how bad the boomers were this whole time, only to become the new and improved version. Congratulations, you became your parents, but worse. You all have kids in school who are going to suffer from the funding cuts to educations and services that they need. You guys have the more diverse family and friend dynamics of people who are going to suffer because of the way you voted. You have aging parents who are going to suffer from the cuts to Social Security and Medicare and the VA. But ultimately, that joke's gonna be on you now, isn't it? Because how long is it before you guys are gonna start trying to collect that shit that isn't gonna be there now because y'all voted against it? You see, us millennials, we knew we were never gonna get it. We've been trying to drink ourselves to death before we get to that point, but you guys had a chance, and you decided to pull up the fucking ladder you forgot you had to climb. You guys burned the fucking house down that you still have to live in. But I'm sure y'all be fine. You'll just go hang out in the woods and drink from a garden hose and never shut the fuck up about it. But you know, it's not even you who are the worst of us. It is our fault. It is truly Democrats who deserve the most ire here. It's the 16 fucking million of them that couldn't be bothered. Filling out a few bubbles was just too much to ask, huh? Were you worried picking up that pen was gonna flare up your carpal tunnel, activate your arthritis? You know that famous Martin Niemöller poem? You know, first they came for the socialists and I did nothing, for I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists and I did nothing because I was not in a union. You know the poem I'm talking about, right? You know how it ends? Well, if not, you should fucking look it up because it's about you. I sat there and watched this all happen on election night next to a man who knocked on 3,000 doors to try to make your life better. I sat there with a gay man who used his truck to pull our local DFL parade float and a bunch of rural county parades to screams of hate and harassment. Because these people are truly the most hateful, vile people in the world. I know I marched in one parade. It wasn't even that bad, and it was miserable. He subjected himself to that to try to make your life better. I sat in a room full of people who poured their blood, sweat, tears, and money out to try to make your life better, and it was all for nothing because you couldn't be bothered to get off the fucking couch. But whatever, we got what we voted for, right? The election wasn't rigged, the Electoral College can't be blamed this time around, and all this time I thought they were the delusional ones, but they were right, it was us. We were delusional to believe that this country wasn't full of selfish, lazy, apathetic, and hateful people. Congrats, you guys got what you wanted. You control all three branches of government, and while I know that you have a complete inability to take responsibility for anything, you can't blame anybody else for whatever happens next. So when your Social Security and your Medicare and your Medicaid get cut, when they roll out a federal abortion ban, when they decide that gay marriage and interracial marriage is unconstitutional, when they cut funding for your child's schools and tell them what books they aren't allowed to read, when groceries skyrocket because there's nobody left to pick the produce that's rotting in the field and they've cut all of the egg subsidies, when they start restricting divorce to force women to stay in abusive marriages, when your gay friends get beat to death in a bar just for being who they are and their murderers aren't prosecuted, the next time somebody gets shot in the street for walking while black and the cop gets a promotion, when massive tariffs skyrocket all of our consumer prices and the economy tanks, when the retirement age is raised to 75 and you just missed the cutoff, all those wins will be yours to take credit for. Congratulations. For all the people telling us that we're being overdramatic, that we need to grow up, you know what, sure, we can pretend that women haven't already died from not being able to get the care that they need for the policies that you just voted for again. We can pretend that all of the massive consequences of Trump's trade war and tax plan and deal with OPEC weren't really that bad. We can pretend that all of the children who decided living in this world anymore wasn't for them because they weren't accepted or it wasn't even legal for them to be who they wanted to be just don't matter. And we're all being overdramatic. And keep that in mind when you're upset that your daughter won't take your phone calls because of the choices you've made, that it's not that big a deal and you are just being overdramatic. Remember, the soul-crushing loneliness of your grandkids deciding that your decisions make you too toxic for their life is just you being overdramatic. Remember that when you're upset because you cooked all this food and nobody showed up for Thanksgiving because your gay siblings don't feel comfortable being around you anymore. And remember next time you bitch to your shitty friends that you sit alone every night because you can't find a good woman to swipe right. Once again, you're being just a little overdramatic. Enjoy your wins, guys. I hope they are everything you hoped they would be, because you sure as hell got it at the expense of a lot of people that you pretended you cared about.